Hello, we are live. When I say live and when I say we, I mean Estateguru and our first ever podcast. It's called Talking Real Estate. So guess what we are going to be doing? We're going to be talking real estate, real talk about real estate, and our first guest today is Robert Laud, the CEO of Andover. Robert, this is going to be a truly international podcast. So literally dozens and dozens of people all over the world are going to be tuning in. So for those of you who don't know who you are, who don't know Andover, could you please talk a little bit about yourself and about your company?
Right, thanks for having me. I'm a CEO of Andover. We do real estate development, mostly for residential use, some bits and pieces also in commercial part. And we have been on the market for more than 20 years, so we think that we know what we do, and we have done successfully many projects and sold many thousands of apartments, and mostly we are concentrating our activities right now in Tallinn, the capital of Estonia. There are no good reasons to go in the other cities of Estonia. They are kind of small for our scale, and yes, Tallinn is our playground, and here we do the business.
Amazing. I live right next to one of your developments on Volta Street, so thank you very much for raising the price for square root in this area. I'm very happy for my investment, but it's a beautiful location.
Yeah, it's a beautiful location, and it's one of the rare places in Tallinn where you could turn the former industrial platform into a commercial and residential area, and all gonna be brand new at the same style. All the infrastructure gonna be new, all the roads and things, and there are not too many opportunities in the cities to do this kind of development, and yes, that's very interesting area what we are working on right now, and the first house is just been handed over to the people.
I was actually one of the first adapters of this entire Volta area. I rented my first apartment there in 2012, and I couldn't imagine how developed this area is going to be just in 10 years. I read the report that your fourth quarter last year was quite successful. You were one of the leaders when it came to apartment sales. Is it mainly due to the Volta residents, or some other projects were more successful?
There were few contributors to this. Volta area, of course, is probably the most important one, but the second one is the high-rise project Rocca Towers, what we are doing in the Haabersti area in Tallinn. And there's a lot of competition in the Haabersti area, many developers doing the projects there, but we are the only ones doing the high-rises in Estonian terms. They are 18 floor towers, two of them next to each other, and we kind of literally stood out with this project, and that was another major contributor.
I understand. Yeah, a lot of people want an apartment with a great view. I understand you offer a number of penthouses in this apartment.
Yes, the view is very important when it comes to real estate, and given that there are not so many tall houses, especially residential houses in Tallinn, then if you can offer a view to the sea and to the zoo and green areas, that's kind of rare, and yeah, people like it.
But like a lot of our viewers are either real estate developers themselves or people who invest into real estate. So the question that interests us the most is what's happening to the real estate market. So we understand that the fourth quarter was quite good, but what was your first quarter of this year like? Do you see a positive trend? Is the market in stagnation?
We have to look at the relative terms. If we look at the relative terms, then the first quarter was better than the last quarter of last year. We are coming out of the deepest point of the market. Most probably, I would say that the deepest point was somewhere in January, maybe end of February, when the market was really quiet. We are coming out of that, and generally, springtime is a good time to sell apartments, to sell houses. But on the other hand, next to spring, I see also that people are getting used already to the new Euribor rates, and that the energy prices are higher than they were maybe a year or 2 years ago. That's not a surprise anymore, and people have to go on with their lives. They can't wait. Normally they are ready to wait some 6 months, and when they 6 months they are ready to postpone the moves they need to make in their lives. But as long as they have waited 6 months and kind of adapted and see that the world is still turning around, and it's kind of generally saying life goes on, then they start to do the transactions again, and it means the market is getting more active, and there is not so much pressure anymore on the prices, and people going forward already looking to do the transactions. That's kind of important.
I bought my apartment last year on the 25th of February, so it was a very, very weird day for me to sign the papers. The way I looked at it was that such a long-term investment of 30, 35 years, and maybe when it comes to this long term, the entry point is not that important, or not that hugely important. What's your...
No, when you look at the really long term, like you said, at 30 years, that it's not, the entry point is not that important in that sense, and you always have to think about your own life, whether you are ready to stay, let's say, another year or 2 years in the rental apartment or in a smaller apartment, or you feel that your current one is too big, you want to move into a smaller one. Think about your life and imagine if you are ready to wait until the market is perfect. Probably it's not the case.
It's never going to be perfect, I think.
Yeah, it's never going to be perfect.
So we established that springtime is a very good time to sell an apartment. What would you say the best time is to buy an apartment?
At the springtime.
Springtime as well. So matching supply and demand perfectly at the same time.
Yeah.
But if you're looking to buy an apartment right now, maybe for personal use, but better still even to invest into real estate, what advice would you give to the buyers at this particular time? What are the good pointers? What's important to look at?
That's the general knowledge that the location is always important factor. That's the one you can change. Location is very important, and even if the timing of the market condition is not that perfect, if you have the right spot or the right location, that's gonna be great for a longer time. Look for some good specific characteristic of the apartment. If there are too many of the same time, that's then you are always dependent on the market forces. But if there's something really unique, either it's a view or some general characteristics, then you are well off. And then if you want to sell this apartment again, then you have less competitors.
So you think right now we are at relatively bottom of the market for the foreseeable future, or do you think there's going to be further reduction in the prices?
No, I wouldn't say that this interest rate increase has been really high, and we can say surprisingly high. All this happened in a very short time period, and people, of course, they were shocked in a way, because if you have 10 years no rates, basically no rates at all, and suddenly it goes up in the sky, of course you're shocked, but people adapt to different kind of situations, and now the foreseeable future says that most probably we have lower rates next year than they are today. That's already positive outlook, and it's they are not gonna be most probably the rates we had 10 years, like close to zero. I mean that's not the case, but we have kind of positive outlook already, and then the market has been really frozen and was down. So I see that from that point onwards, we have positive outlook.
Okay, so we talked about buying an apartment for personal use, but a lot of people who watch us today, they actually invest into the market. If you are purchasing properties for them to increase in value, what do you think are the most important criteria to establish when doing something like this?
The most important, we come back again to the location and the uniqueness. If you have seaside spots where new developments are being done, the seaside is very limited. The view is limited. So if you have a great apartment there, you have a really long view, as you mentioned, 30 years, then why not to take the decision and buy it? If it's a nice location in the downtown is normally there are not so many empty spaces anymore when you can do a nice development. So if there is a nice development in downtown and you like some of apartments and you look for investment, do it. The interest rates are high at the moment, but as I said, there is positive outlook, and they are probably lower in next years. And if you wait until the next years to buy such great unique apartment, it's not going to be there anymore. So, but on the other hand, if you have let's say at the borders of the city where there's a lot of empty land and many developments done, maybe it's not the right moment at the moment to buy there, because probably you have similar products in 6 months or in 1 year, and maybe the financing conditions are better, and maybe you have time. You don't have to hurry there. But if there are unique places, unique apartments, unique developments, then you have to do the decision now if you like it.
So when it comes to evaluating properties, one word that came very frequently is location, obvious, what would you say are the most undervalued locations in Tallinn at the moment? Something that is definitely gonna increase in popularity over time. Do you see any locations like this, or?
It's kind of difficult to say these undervalued places, because the development, let's say, density or the development speed has been really high, and there are developments all over the city, and kind of each place found the apartment. Probably the northern part of Tallinn, which is going westward from Kalamaja, could be the places where next interesting developments are going to take place, because this ex-industrial or logistical area where there are space. Let's say the commercial land is turned into residential spaces, and there are just interesting places where interesting developments can be done.
Because last year I asked this question to one of our co-founders, Kaspar, exactly the same question. What are the overvalued locations, undervalued locations? He said that in his opinion, one of the most undervalued is Kalamaja, even though it's still the most expensive one. it's going to get even more expensive in the future. But he gave a very interesting answer to the overvalued location. He said that he doesn't see any locations in Tallinn as overvalued, but he can name me a class of property which is, in his opinion, is very, very valued. And that's those Soviet Union blocks of flats. He said that the value is not gonna grow, even though it's outpaced the value of the properties in Kalamaja over the past 10 years. And this year, I see that the main drop in prices actually occurred for the Soviet-type buildings, since they are not really energy efficient, not something where younger population wants to live generally.
Yes, that's also the market forces behind it, because there are many similar apartments available. So if you want to sell a two-room apartment in a typical block of flats, then you can count that there are 10 to maybe 20 similar apartments for the sale at the same time. So and that's why the market drives down also the prices, because sold will be this apartment which has the lowest price if it has not something unique characteristics, which probably most of them don't have, because there are a lot of similar apartments. That's in my opinion, that's one of the reasons. And the second reason is what you mentioned already, is the credit policy of the banks as well, because the banks tend to give better rates for the more energy efficient buildings, and the old ones are not the most energy efficient. Some houses have done a very good job in renovating them and raising the efficiency class manifold, but generally the bank's credit policy is one thing that drives also the trend.
But do you see the situation changing? Because, well, obviously you've picked Haabersti as one of the areas to develop. It's a very nice area, nice, green, well connected to the city center. The same can be said, I think, about Mustamäe, a lot of forests, a lot of greenery. Do you think we're going to be following, the German route, where they take the Soviet-era buildings and redevelop them completely into something nice and modern?
That's technically very difficult. I believe more in this pattern that funds also on the European level are given to the house union, so to say, to renovate the buildings, because the main problem is that they are privately owned, and if you want to tear down the whole building, you have to have 100% consent, and the people, they don't have to live, they most probably don't have any alternatives to live until one building is teared down and the new one built at the same place. On the German case, there are many of them are rental houses. So basically, if the landlord decides that this location is going to be finished with this building, then the people have to relocate it. The rental agreements are done in different buildings, and until the building is emptied, it can be teared down and built a new one. In our case, it's fully privately owned. You can't do it.
So we can establish good location, energy efficient buildings are the best investment vehicle at the moment in real estate. But
I would say so. Yeah.
What's your opinion about investing into real estate debt? Something that Estateguru actually does. You can invest into a development project or into a specific borrower on the platform. What is your opinion on something like this?
My opinion about this investing in debt, then real estate backed debt is one of the best investment in this sense that it is backed, it has a mortgage behind it, and it gives you a great comfort in a way that even if the money is not immediately paid back, if the collateral is okay and you can sell it on the market, you most probably get at least major part of your money back, and in this way I think it's a great part of one's investment portfolio.
So you are a very experienced user of our platform. When it comes to projects appearing on our platform, because we do give a lot of freedom to choose whatever you want, there's a lot of information available to all the investors. As a person who probably knows more about real estate than any of the viewers, do you have any tips on how to choose good investments, how to make good decisions on the platform at the moment?
Yes, look at the collateral first. If the collateral is downtown, you can relate to these locations in different cities. Even if you are not investing in your home city, look at the Google map. Look at the location. If this seems logical, then about if you can find out more about the building, do some research. If this collateral is okay, then as we talking about collateral backed loans, then gives you a great comfort. If it's a project out of the urban area, or let's say more on a greenfield project, then the building itself is not that important. Probably you have to take a look whether there are real roads, whether the pipelines, the utility lines are there, because if you see a picture with a house on the field, it could be a very well built house, but if it doesn't have the utility lines connected to it, then it doesn't function properly, and it's not a great value as a collateral, because in real estate business often this creating or building this infrastructure is much more expensive than to build a house, let's say private house or small apartment house at the end. So this is kind of critical that if you go to invest in a greenfield project, that to make sure that the utility lines and the roads are there. And maybe also one tip that's more like insiders know, that if you have a type of land, for example a commercial type of land, and the nice pictures showing you that there is going to be a residential project there, I would say that do some background research whether it's possible to change the planning from commercial type of land into residential type of land, or vice versa as well. It might be not that easy to do that, or if you can do that, it might take some time, and the time is not counted in months, it most probably counted in years. So that's kind of red flag to look into it, whether it's possible to do really a residential development on the commercial land, or the commercial development on the residential land.
Okay, so I think we covered the part about the people who invest into real estate quite nicely, but a lot of our viewers are actually aspiring real estate developers themselves, small, medium-sized enterprises, some large ones as well. As a person who has so much experience, what advice would you give to people who are just making their first step into becoming a real estate developer?
Well. I would advise first do a lot of background research. Research the market from the demand side. Research the real construction costs. One common mistake is that you underestimate the construction cost. When you're doing a greenfield project, look at all the planning, what it says about the roads and the utilities. Consult with the local city governments, with the county governments, that whether it's you could have even detailed planning in place that says that you can well do this and that, but whether your heating system reaches this place, whether the water supply reaches this place. There are a lot of hidden things that it's that very easy to overlook. That's why I say that do your research on demand side. What else is being offered? What is the secondary market in this area? And do the research on the planning side that you are well covered with all the permits what you need, and finally don't underestimate the construction
costs
budget.
are I mean, but how on earth can you avoid this? Because even with like a small project, I just needed like small renovation in one of the apartments that I had. You usually make a budget and then you just multiply it by 2, and that's going to be your approximate cost at the end. Is it the same with your operations, or do you have like a more precise way?
No, in our case we have to go very precise. If we would do the gut feeling budget and multiply it by 2 and hope for a good project, then with God's help sometimes it could happen, but most probably not. We have to do a very careful budgeting if the projects get big, let's say on the Estonian terms, 150 to 200 apartments in one development, then you have to really first you have the engineering part of the building has to be done on a very good quality work, and then if you have all the drawings and all the architecture in place, then you have to have good construction people to do the forecasting and all the calculations first in our office, and then start checking it with subcontractors and whether the price range what we have forecasted ourselves, whether it makes sense, and then adjust it to the market prices, and then only then, if we have covered the whole project with also market offers, then we are more or less know that whether we are on the right place, or we need to do some adjustments to change something in the project that we have the right price point.
Okay, so when it comes to, because I mean last year there was a situation, at least a lot of people reported it, that the suppliers were only able to give quotes on materials that were valid for 24 hours, just because the prices were that volatile.
Yeah, that was the crazy times. The war broke up in Ukraine. Many of the materials, like metal and construction material, came from this region, also to our country, and the war basically also broke the different supply channels. And even before the war, there were other problems with the supply channel, so that we had a crazy situation last year in the first and second quarter, where nobody was really sure what's the price of the construction going to be, and it's kind of understandable that at this point of time the contractors couldn't do the fixed price offers anymore. But this time is over at the moment. It's not the case anymore. It's kind of, I think it's stopped at the last quarter of last year, because the banks are not okay with the offers which are open-ended in a way, when the price is not fixed. And as our business is very capital intensive, and we have to talk to the financiers, they want to have the fixed offers. And the current market situation is far from the turbulence we saw last year. So it's you can do forecasts again.
Well, that's excellent. Well, speaking about financiers, in this environment we have right now, how would you compare the bank financing to being financed by an alternative lender, like by Estateguru, for instance? Do you use both? Definitely use one of them, that I know for sure. But how would you compare it, and what advice would you give to people when when they're trying to find financing for their projects?
We always say in Andover that you have to have a wider range of financing partners. So it's you have to have good relations to the local banks. You have to have good relations to the alternative financiers, either it's bonds or real estate backed loans like Estateguru, because there are different. The cycle of the whole real estate project is many years in a way, and in this cycle there are also different financing options available and make more sense than the others. Maybe when you are still in the planning phase, it's good to use like a Estateguru type of loan if you have the planning already covered and you are sure what you do. Then you go to the bank and say that's our plan, that's what we will do. Then you do the bank financing when you have the assets ready, and like the market situation like we experiencing right now, that the sales are not going that fast as they were forecasted last year. Then you have need to have again like asset-backed financing, forward financing in a way. And there are different players on the market, and know your options.
I think it's all about diversification when it comes to financing as well.
Yeah.
So different financing options
for different moments, moments of the property development cycle.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much, Robert. It was very, very insightful. I certainly learned a lot. I hope all our viewers did as well. Guys, if you have any questions, you can write them in the comment section. We'll kindly ask Robert to respond to the most interesting ones.
Sure.
And I hope you had a very good time with us. Tune in for our next podcast. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Thank you.